Let's get this party started. It's Beach-A-Palooza time in Beach City. No one enjoys entertaining people more than Steven Universe. So he has once again summoned more Stevens from his former band, Steven and the Stevens. By this time, they're going to do it right, and each Steven will have his own band to recruit his friends to join. Now the Stevens can compete to see who can put on the best show. Of course, all of the excitement of Beach-A-Palooza has also drawn the attention of party crashers in the form of unruly, corrupted, and homeworld gems. So, in addition to competing against one another, the Stevens and their friends must work together to keep these party crashers at bay and make sure Beach-A-Palooza rocks.
Yeah.
Did any of that make sense to you?
Absolutely everything made sense to me.
Wow.
I can see how, as someone who had not seen the show, it makes absolutely
Well, today we're talking about Beach-A-Palooza, Steven Universe Beach-A-Palooza card battling game.
We are. And here's Evan with a how to play.
Here is what Steven Universe Beach-A-Palooza card battling game might look like setup. Each player gets a random Steven card, 10 crystals on that card, and one of these crystal gem like markers that go on the score track right there. You flip over 3 party crashers, which are the types of characters that you have to fight during the game, and also a reference card. Then you deal 9 cards to each player, starting with Act 1 for the first round. Each player then passes the remaining cards to their left for the next turn of the next person. So basically, yeah, you're drafting 3 cards every time, passing the rest to the next player. So you flip over your cards, you choose which cards you would like to keep, and they might be things such as audience members or band members. If you have an audience member, you choose 2 of these to keep. An audience member goes there like they're watching the band, and the band members go here, or here, like to make up your band. When you draft band members, they cost this much crystals from the Steven card. So this one costs 3 and this one costs 3. Now they have that much energy. And audience members have special effects. So like this one is if he's in your audience, you get a crystal every time you attack a party crasher. So once everyone has set that up, however, you only get to keep 2. So your third one goes into a pile over here, which is like the captured pile. But let's just say we do have an audience member right there. This particular audience member just gives you 2 crystals when you play them. So then what you're going to want to do is attack these party crashers. And these damages cost crystals, and it shows how much damage it does right there. So this particular one attacks for 3, and it does 2 damage. And you can spread that damage out however you want among one party crasher. So let's say I want to do 1 damage there and 1 damage there. But when I do the damage to those particular spots, you also get a crystal. And then this person could also attack this person. And if you spend 3, it does 2 damage, which would, in this case, would get you a crystal and a point. And then you go around the table until everyone's had a chance to attack. If you defeat a party crasher, you can choose to take one of these cards or take 3 points. And if you ever see the symbol right here when you're attacking, that is also able to draw a card from the discarded cards. So then you go through your next turn, drafting 3 cards, playing 2 of them, either to your audience or your band, throwing another one away. I would also like to mention at the end of each round, there's possible negative or positive effects on these party crashers. This one in particular, if you have a audience member with a French fry symbol on them, you get an extra point when you attack them. However, if you have a French fry symbol audience member at the end of the round, you lose a point. So some of these you have to attack if they're going to hurt you. The other thing I would like to mention is if before you do your attack, you have one of these other characters in your party that you can fuse with. In this case, Ruby and Sapphire can fuse to create, I think it's one of these. Anyway, so yes, they can fuse to create other characters that are possibly upgraded like points or upgraded damage or have other special abilities, that sort of thing. So yeah, basically you go around the table, keep drafting, playing cards, attacking these party crashers, and then you move, once everyone's drafted all of their cards, you move on to Act 2, and then you do it again in Act 3. As soon as a party crasher is defeated, a new one comes out, and the person at the end of the game with the highest score wins. I think that about covers it. Let's go back up top, and we'll talk about the game a little bit more. So there was a super quick how to play Beach-A-Palooza card battling game Steven Universe. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
So, as usual, we go through a few points and hit on those points and then give a final score at the end. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the theme and the mechanics. How do you feel about the theme and the mechanics?
I mean, I love Steven Universe. I know you don't care. I enjoy the show immensely, in the songs in the show and everything, so having a band theme game makes perfect sense. Since they actually, and as it mentioned in your intro, there was an episode where Steven made more Stevens and started a band.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, so this theme means nothing to me. I've never seen any episode of the cartoon. I've heard some of the songs because you play them in your car sometimes.
Yes.
I do not particularly like them.
I know.
At all.
I know.
So theme means literally nothing to me.
Right.
It doesn't I wouldn't say the theme is a negative to me, but maybe it is. Because Steven Universe, cartoon.
You like some cartoons, but very little.
No, I don't think I would like this one.
No, probably not.
Okay, so as far as mechanics go, how do you feel about the mechanics?
I mean, it's a card battling game. It's
kind of. It's not. It's actually not a card battling game. Because when I think of card battling game, I think of
player versus player.
Player versus player. Okay. And it is not that.
Well, you're battling the other cards. In that sense, it is a card battling game.
So, right. So, yeah, you're recruiting band members and attacking
right
party crashers?
Yeah, the corrupted gems or the homeworld gems.
So, so you do that by drafting, which actually is kind of a fun mechanism where you're choosing cards, keeping a couple, and then throwing one away to potentially get later or have someone else get it later. And then upgrading those cards as the acts go on. I think mechanically, it's not so bad.
No, it's fine. It can be a lot to keep track of, though, however.
Yeah, okay. This is true. There's a lot of little icons. There's not a lot of little icons, but there are little icons.
Little icons. And sometimes they're hard to see, and then it's also hard to remember, I have this character in my audience, so this happens and this happens, and I need to do this to do that, and this card has a boon on it, and this card has a negative on it, so you have to remember all those things, and it can get a little...
There is. If this is a game aimed at like casual players of the cartoon, it might be a little bit overwhelming.
Yes, I can see that happening.
Well, since you're talking about like cards and the makeup of the cards, I guess we can move to aesthetics and components.
Right.
So as far as aesthetics goes, I assume this is all... I don't know if this is original art or if this is art just taken from the cartoon or from a comic or something.
I mean, there was a Steven Universe comic.
I don't know.
It could be from that. I'm not
I don't know.
actually sure.
I don't know if this is original art for this. It may or may not be.
I mean, that's hard for me to say.
But whatever. It's if you watch the cartoon, you're going to know who these characters are.
Oh, absolutely.
I assume they look exactly like they do in the show.
Yes, they do.
But then, going to the components. Generally, the components are pretty fine.
Right.
These crystals are nice. Card quality is fine. Mm-hmm. These little score markers are fine. They're
the gems of the characters.
Sure.
Your player colors are the gems of the characters.
Yes. Whatever that means.
The Cookie Cat scoreboard is adorable because it's Cookie Cat. However, it is so snaked, it's annoying to follow.
There's a little track, that you can follow, but as far as like this looping like scoreboard, it can get rather annoying.
Like which way do I have to move my?
Yeah, or like who's winning currently, because I'm not sure which side of this is which direction this goes. Yeah, it's not the greatest. I hate scoreboards like that, or at least I dislike scoreboards like that. Sometimes they don't bother me. This one could have been better.
Yeah.
As far as components, though, that basically covers everything aside from the rule book. But let's get to that in a minute. All right. So, how about replayability and variability?
Seeing as you're drafting the cards, and we've only played it at 3 players,
Correct.
It's going to have a lot of variability because we didn't get through half the act decks.
True, but it's not like there's a ton of variability in those cards. There's a lot of the same cards.
Yes, there is a lot of the same cards.
Or similar cards.
Right. However, you don't know what you're going to get in the hand that is handed to you, and you could have just all audience members, and that won't be.
Sometimes that could possibly be a strategy.
And that's true. When you're giving it up to your opponent.
But as far as replayability, I don't know that the replayability is huge.
No.
So I feel like it's going to play out the same-ish every time, and then just the variability comes in the cards that you're going to draft, or what gets.
It is luck for what you're going to draft, because I feel like the last time we played, was just not getting the cards I need to recharge my gems and things like that.
Right. And if someone who's passing you cards sees that, they're not going to give you cards that you need.
No, why would they?
Which is,
that is a strategy too.
Yeah, okay. So, replay and variability, it's okay. So then how about length versus experience?
The first time that we played it, it took a long time.
It sure did.
It did. The second time was better.
Yeah, it went a lot smoother on repeated plays. Partially because of that rule book.
Yes.
Which left a lot of questions.
It did.
But even then, I feel like the game maybe runs a little bit too long. Like, maybe more than a little bit too long, even at 3 players. I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, because you said you would not want to play with more players because of the length. And I would only want to play with more players to have more cards available.
Yeah, I get that. But it's not like you're really doing it simultaneously. It says 45 to 60 minutes. And I think for a 3-player game, each act was taking about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
which is 60 minutes with 3 players. So if you add people, it's only going to take longer.
Yes. I agree with you there. So, I mean, I think it'd be fine to play once in a while, but experience versus length, I would not probably want to go over. I mean, just to see more cards come out would be nice, or see what happens when you add an extra player and, to who can get the fusions and things like that.
It switches up the draft a little bit.
It does.
But okay, so I think the time spent with it isn't necessarily returned in the experience of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to talk about strategies next, we mentioned that before about because you're drafting cards, keeping 2, and then kind of throwing away, passing the rest to the next person. So you can definitely hurt the other person.
Yes.
if they're looking to upgrade characters, or they just need characters like band members, and you're passing them all audience members.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you may be forced to pass them characters that they need, which helps them. You can't always prevent that.
Right. And then because you play 2 and then put 1 in the capture zone, I guess, I would put 1 that either I didn't need in the capture zone, or that wasn't good for anyone, or I would put 1 that I did need and then immediately attack where I could retrieve that card.
Try to get it, right. I think that's a valid strategy. But basically going back to the luck is that last time we played, Grayson was able to draft a good combination right away and use that through the entire game.
Yes.
Where he had a constant gem farm.
Basically, I could not get gems to save my life, and he's just like this whole bag was on his Steven.
And he was able to fuse those every time and doing the fusions to create a bigger attack, and then it just kept rolling the whole time. Where our scores were similar, his were way ahead.
Yes.
It slowed down a little bit towards the end of the game, but we were unable to catch up.
He was an out of the door whew. And we could not catch up, no.
So I feel like that can just happen where you get a good combination at the beginning or a bad combination at the beginning of the game.
It just happens to be what your 9 cards at the beginning, and then I'm picking these ones, and then I can recharge these every time or not.
And there just might not be anything you can do to stop that.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about additional negatives.
The rulebook.
There's a very glaring one, and it's this rulebook. There are very few pictures for even how the game is set up. There kind of is, but we had so many questions the first time we played this.
Right. That's why it took so long, and we were on BGG, and apparently
there's a lot of people
Erica
with the exact same questions.
has a whole thread of answering questions, and she said unfortunately they won't be able to put out a second rule book.
No,
that would help with this.
I imagine this was probably a one and done print run game. So yes, right. So if you have questions like we did, you go on Board Game Geek, and there's a lot of answers. A lot of answers, which.
I mean, basically, she said, if you think it's the game is friendly. So if you think that you can do it, you should be able to do it.
Right. It's a friendly but also very competitive game.
Yes.
So it's odd in that way. But it's
friendly to the player.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate. It's not a game design problem necessarily. It's just there needed to be clarifications. There needed to be an FAQ. There needed to be more picture examples or turn examples in here, because I don't know, something about these pages where they're just all text and you're trying to figure out what they're talking about. It was difficult.
Yes. And then you had a problem with the small icons for the characters because each card act had different background colors.
Yes, so when you're fusing characters, it'll show you on the card who they can fuse with to create the fusion character. Mm-hmm. And seeing as I don't know who any of these characters are, and different act cards have different pictures of those characters, it's confusing to me which characters they were.
Right. Also the audience members, because some audience members, when you play them, if you have that person in your band, you'll get bonus points. Right. And he's like, who is this?
Yeah,
and I'm that's Connie. And he's like, do I have Connie?
Yeah, I don't know. Right. So that was also made it difficult for someone who's not familiar with the show to play the game, to just play the game. Because I had to constantly be asking those questions. Who is this? Does this work with this? I'm not 100% sure. Mm-hmm. And even, like I said, with the different pictures, it made it double confusing. There should have just been, character icons instead of, an actual little tiny picture of the character in there. That would have helped.
Or even maybe they're player gems.
Maybe. But then you run the risk of having it not be colorblind friendly, especially if there's small icons on the cards. But that's honestly a pretty big hurdle to get over to actually successfully play the game. Mm-hmm. Okay, so anything else as far as negatives?
I can't think of it other than the luck of the draft. I mean, but that's the only the biggest issue was the rule book for
absolutely. Sure. All right, so the next question is it fun?
I mean, I definitely had more fun the second time we played.
Okay, even though we got trounced?
Yes. Okay. Even though we could not catch up to Grayson for the life of us. He clearly had the better band going on. He was the main stage, obviously. But yeah, I had fun with it definitely more so the second time.
Okay.
Is it great? Fun? It's fine.
It's probably not your type of game.
True.
I would say it's
my type of theme.
Yeah, okay. But the theme didn't carry it through in this case, I think. Mm-hmm. I would say that it's not unfun. Mm-hmm. But I also don't think it's really that fun to play. It's fine.
Right.
If I had the choice to play it again or never play it again, I think the answer would be obvious.
Okay, but if you had to play this or never play any other game.
Well, I mean, I will never be put in that position. So I don't think it's not it's not unfun, but it's also not fun. So it's kind of like right in the middle for me.
Right. It could be better.
If there was someone who was like the biggest Steven Universe fan and they saw it sitting on our shelf and they're like, you need to teach us this game, I'd be fine playing it.
Right.
Am I going to choose to play it?
Probably not, no.
No. All right. So anything else? Okay.
No.
So before we give our final scores, let's check out one other opinion.
It's pretty fun, but like it almost feels as though like there's some strategies that seem to be a little too overpowered, or like, and also like sometimes it just feels like it runs a little too long.
Thank you for that opinion, Grayson.
Yeah, he's the only other one who would play it with us.
Yeah.
Okay, so final scores. I think in the 5 range feels too low. So I'm going to end up, I probably could do a 5.5 based on like personal opinion. But I think as far as the game and trying to be a little more objective about it, I think I'm going to land on a 6.
I was also going to go 6.
Is that right?
And because I was going to go, I was like, well, it's not perfect at all. It's fun, but I also probably would not choose to play it over all the other games we have, even though I do love Steven Universe, but the theme gives it an extra point there.
Really?
So I would give it to 6.
I figured you would have rated higher because I was trending lower because of the theme.
I mean, in my head, when we were deciding this, I was like, I'm probably gonna go 6.
Okay, all right.
It's not great, but it's a little above average for me.
Okay.
In the theme.
Because once it starts to get below a 6, I start to feel like it's a bad game, and it's not necessarily a bad game.
It's not your type of game.
No, but
it's not necessarily my type of game.
But I'm probably more willing to play this type of a game over you.
True.
So it's the theme that brings it down for me.
And I like the theme.
So hey, well, I guess we're both landing on 6s. So okay, well, I guess that about wraps it up. Thank you for watching. Comment below. Have you played this game? Have you ever even seen this game? Have you seen the cartoon? Do you care about the cartoon? Is it interesting to you? Because you know the answers to those questions for me. So, all right. I guess that wraps it up, and we'll see you on the next one, everybody. Bye.
Bye.